Welcome back to Rise and Shine, the podcast of Ability Connection Colorado. My name is Jared, and all this month we are going to be celebrating the families whose children survived progressive infantile scoliosis, or early onset scoliosis, as it's known, because June is Scoliosis Awareness Month. And one thing that we desperately want people to be aware of is when you have an infant, when you have a child that's diagnosed with progressive infantile or early onset scoliosis, there's a place you can go, and that is ISOMP, the Infantile Scoliosis Outreach Program, which lives on your donations. And let me just tell you that this is one of those programs where from your donation to saving a child is a direct line. And we're going to talk to a family today, the Muniz family in Wyoming. They were presented with their daughter Charlie's diagnosis and weren't sure where to go until some internet searching introduced them to Heather Hyatt and her infantile scoliosis outreach program. That's a program of Ability Connection Colorado, we proudly say. And of course, always inspired by Heather's daughter, Liv, who she and her mom traveled the world looking for a treatment. And in finding that treatment, brought it to America 20 years ago. Dr. Min Mehta's casting. It would be too late for Liv, but she drives us every day to make Mehta casting a standard of care. And now let's connect to the Muniz family. And Abby, I think that you pretty much said it all in just a little snippet. You sent an email that you couldn't wait to do this because of Heather's role in Charlie's health. And we should just kick down the emotional gates right now and talk about what that, when you write that, what do you feel?
Oh, I feel so much. I'm just so grateful is how I feel. I can't imagine where my life would be without finding Heather and the ISOP group. There is no way to explain how you feel so alone at the beginning of a journey like this. And without them, I'm literally one person.
I think the biggest thing about this was when we started this, we had no idea what we were facing. We had no idea what the treatment options were. We had no idea where to even begin to go to.
Right.
And so we just tried to blindly stumble through some of this until we found Heather. And Heather was a huge instrument in getting us to Shriners and seeing Dr. DeStew and really being on a treatment path that was good for Charlie and is as minimally invasive as possible.
Yeah.
Was this a Google search?
Yep. So back then, well, it's a Yahoo group. So there was no Facebook groups then. And
wow, that's right. That was way back before Yahoo. I mean, before,
yeah. We were on a Yahoo group. And so what had happened is Charlie was 11 months old and she got RSV. And so I took her to an urgent care on a Sunday. We both were in college. I was in nursing school. I was going to school to be a teacher. And we were like, okay, we get an x-ray, and the x-ray tech was like, can you come look at this? I'm not supposed to show you. And they did an x-ray to see if she had pneumonia. And then there's this huge curve in her spine. At that time, we were living in Greeley, Colorado. And so went to Denver, and my gut just didn't feel right with the doctor that was giving us care there. Like I cried every time we left. It was just not right. But we got her in her first cast within a week. And then I just Yahoo searched infantile scoliosis, idiopathic infantile scoliosis, and this group popped up. And then there were all these parents who had been through exactly what we had been through previously. And Heather, I just wrote in the group, where do you guys go for care? Just give me some tips. And Heather wrote back something along the lines of, let's get you to Shriners where the best is. And then we got there.
Like I remember reading the story, and I think things were kind of going south with Olivia at that time. And I don't know. It was a rough time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember you got to Salt Lake and you met the master caster there, the first doctor that allowed me to bring Dr. Mehta to his hospital in the United States. And it was before there was any published evidence even. So I can't even say enough about the doctor in Salt Lake. I can't ever.
We're so grateful for him and for you and just to get to him. Charlie's a super active kid now. She's 5'9". I can't imagine how tall she
Oh
would
my
be.
gosh, she's 5'9".
Yeah.
Wow, girl.
I can't imagine how tall she'd be if she would have ended up with a fusion or something. I mean, it would have stunted all of that growth and caused so many problems for her.
She's standing really tall and she's breathing. Oh, she's breathing strong.
Yep.
Are you taller than your mom?
Yep.
You catching your dad then, or are you
close?
Getting there.
No, that's a big deal in my house, and my wife is getting tired of the boys coming up and like, putting their chin on her forehead. They're gonna get throat punched or something. I'm like, just be careful. You're still her baby. She doesn't need you doing this. So, Charlee, what do you remember of this? Anything?
When I don't remember like when I first went into casting, but I do remember when I got the braces, and every single night I would have to come out into the living room and they would have to check to make sure it was tight enough, because it was always just so uncomfortable to sleep in, but it was worth it to get my back straight in how it is now.
For how long were you in casts?
I was in cast until like mid 7th grade.
No, casts.
Oh, cast? I have no clue.
She did a series of 6. So
okay.
Bracing.
Over a year, a little over 1 year. And then she braced until 7th grade.
Wow. What a worthy process. You went through a lot. I've talked to a lot of moms, and there's the dad is there, but he's working, he's checking in. What is your perspective on this?
When she first started searching, she said there was just something in her gut that didn't feel right, and she started searching, and her and I would talk almost every day about whatever she found online or through Yahoo. And then when we found Heather, I think we had done a voice call with her where we were just on speaker, and the two of us got to ask her about 1 million questions. And then immediately after that, Heather got us some information for Shriners, and so we started reaching out and doing that part. And Abbey was working with the hospital, and the hospital got me in contact with the local Shriners club. And so I worked on that side of working with them. Since we were in college, we didn't have a whole lot of just free-flowing funding for us to go wherever we wanted.
You're probably working and going to college?
Yeah.
We couldn't have done it without this lady right here, because we were broke.
Yay, Grandma.
We had no time at all.
And so I worked a lot with the local shrine on helping us with traveling and accommodations and hotels when we were in Salt Lake. And then it just got to the point where both of us felt comfortable enough that we could make phone calls to either. And there were days I would call Shriners Hospital to find things out, or she would call the local Shriners Club, and it just became a thing, I think, that as partners we had to work through.
Yeah, you each had your own role. So, Cindy, are you seeing who you probably deemed as kids just become bigger than you could ever imagine?
Oh, yeah. We were, the day she called me and told us that they discovered Charlie's spine and the curve in it, we were in the mountains, and she called me and she was hysterical. She was just crying. And I'm like, wow, what's going on, And I immediately went to Greeley, and I remember the first 3 days of casting, this active baby that was walking around just laid totally still, and just laid there with didn't want to move, didn't want to do anything. And after a few days, Abbey had a friend that had a baby a little bit older, and so they took Charlee over there, and then Charlee started to come around, and she started to want to crawl and want to walk again. She was already walking before, but it took a little bit, and to watch that, you just touched your heart, just wow. But as we went through it, she just got to be like any other normal kid. She was out doing everything everybody else was doing with her cast on and in her braces, except taking a bath. And it took all three of us sometimes to give her a bath. Because we
Charlee, you were a very good sport.
Yeah. We would hold her over the sink, and one of them would wash the hair, the other one would hold the kid, the other one would hand towels or whatever. We'd set her on the edge of the counter, and she'd put her feet in the water and splash the water, and we'd try to keep the cash as dry as we could. But
Yeah. So you probably all feel that Charlie's got a competitive edge over any kid.
Yeah, she's definitely yeah. So.
Yeah, that there's some fire there. Like, you've been through stuff, even if you don't remember it. Like, you've been through some stuff.
Yep. So, and then we'd spend so much time in Salt Lake. Oh my gosh, if I never go back to Salt Lake, I'll be fine.
It's an amazing line to start your memoir about this.
Yeah.
Well, how many trips? You're in Greeley at the time and going back and forth? Or?
So they casted her every 2 months. They would cut the cast off and then reapply it. So those were overnight trips. So we'd get there, they'd cut it off. She'd have one night to take a good scrub in the tub. And then the next day they'd cast her, and then we'd go home. In nursing school, you don't get a whole lot of days off. And so we had to make them quick trips. And then when they started doing bracing, we'd stay for a week, because they would measure her on Tuesday, and then they'd turn around and overnight it to, I think it's in the East Coast. Do you remember where?
I can't remember somewhere in East.
And then they would ship it back, and then we'd have it, we'd sleep in it one night. So it'd get back to us Thursday, we'd sleep in it. And then Friday, if all was good, we'd go home. So that was every 6 months. Yeah. Until 7th grade.
So this is one of those moments.
I remember that bracing with Liv as well, and just sitting in Salt Lake forever and ever and ever.
Nothing to do.
It was hard. I remember it well.
Yeah.
It's got to be those things you look back on, you're like, how did we do that?
Right. At the time we were.
It could be so much easier, actually.
Yeah. It was faster. But yeah, we were both working, and so we both worked for the school district. So we'd end up having to take a week off, and then we'd try to plan it around spring break, so that way we could make it our spring break trip, and that's what we did.
Your coworkers are like, yeah, don't mess with Abby today.
Yeah,
she slept 4 hours in the last 5 days. So Charlee, I see these pictures of you playing volleyball. I love volleyball. My 11-year-olds get into volleyball. I go watch my buddy at Metro State. It's such an awesome game. It's so stressful. Like, if the ball drops, you lose. It's just it's intense. I think it's finally getting the credit it deserves. So tell me about getting into volleyball. When did that happen?
I think 6th grade.
Yeah, 6th grade.
You went out for City League.
Yeah, I was in City League, and then there must have been like a recruiter in the crowd for another group, which was a little more competitive than the City League, and they asked me to play, so I decided to go with them. And then the club ball team decided to ask me to come practice with them, and I really liked doing practices with my club team that I'm on now. So I decided, once tryouts were open, I was like, might as well go try and see if I can get onto tryouts. And I got on, which was very exciting. And,
awesome.
Yeah. She's their starting setter. So Charlie's 5'9", but her wingspan is 5'11".
Oh my God.
Yeah. So she's got real big arms.
Long arms, long legs.
That's 5'11". Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a setter that could probably also kill it too, I'm imagining.
Yeah. That's why it's convenient to have those long arms.
Yeah.
And a straight spine.
That is straight. There we go. Yeah, that should be in the stats in the program. 5'11", straight spine. So Grandma, were you at all concerned about her going into this? Did you think it was right?
As we went through this, when we were talking to the physician's assistant at Salt Lake, he said, I want her active. And I remember my daughter telling him, well, she's playing soccer and she's doing this or that. And he said, I want her horseback riding.
Oh, yeah.
So we went and bought a horse. And so we did that, and we live out a little ways in a subdivision, has a few acres. And so that wasn't hard, but, I had her on the horse as much as possible. And so, when you're wearing a cast, you can't get hurt.
Yeah,
You're already prepared to get bucked off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he said it was good because of the movement of the horse to keep your core tight.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did that for a long time.
Yeah.
So it was,
fantastic.
I don't know. I never was scared that she was going to get hurt. I just,
Yeah.
she was like any other kid. She was going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So is it volleyball? Wait, school's how? Are you doing summer volleyball stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll practice.
I'll do like camps and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, up in Cheyenne. Wow. That's cool. So then you'll go back as a freshman. So you'll be going to some high school and maybe trying out for a team.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. What high school is that?
South High School.
It sounds big. When a high school is just named after a direction, I'm like, that's all encompassing.
I'm the school nurse there, so she'll ride with me every day. And we have roughly 1,300 kids.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, like, you find something on Yahoo. Do you believe in it? Do you think, am I crazy? Is this a thing?
There wasn't a whole lot of research out there anyway. So it was like, this is what we got, I didn't like the idea of a spinal fusion for my 1-year-old. So I was like, we'll try this. And if it doesn't work, then I guess what else? There was no other options that seemed good for her, I guess,
I think for me, when we got that opportunity to get on that call with Heather when we very first met her, just knowing that the story that she went with Liv and everything they had gone through and her conviction in this casting was a lot of confidence for me.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, Heather, without you, God knows where we would be.
Thanks, you guys. It was challenging in the beginning because we had no published evidence, and I was fighting with a lot of. No, I shouldn't say fighting. It's hard to convince. It was hard to convince the surgical establishment that this was the way to go, and we have made such amazing headway in 20 years. It's because of our doctor.
Yep.
Clearly. I mean, if he wouldn't have allowed us to bring men, I don't think any of it would have started. And all the work he put into it afterwards, and all the doctors he trained, and I just can't say enough about the Shriners and our big group of parents. I mean, Dr. Mehta always told me, Heather, you have to educate the parents. If you educate the parents, they're going to demand it from their doctors. Yep. So I always just listened to Min and did what she said. She knew.
You're absolutely right. And I think one of the things I've tried to do is kind of pass it forward by just sharing Charlie's story on Facebook. And I've been really lucky. So I have a friend from college that I barely know now, but he reached out to me a couple years ago and said, hi, my friend's baby was diagnosed with this. Can you talk to them? And I got them to Shriners. And so I've done that 2 times now with 2. So just by sharing, he was like, oh, wait, I know a lady who went through this. Let me connect this other person. And so just to continue to share and grow is how we keep kids from having their spine fused.
What I always tell parents, and it happens every single time, whether it takes 1 year, 5 or 10, you're going to run into somebody that has a baby with scoliosis, or a cousin that has a baby with scoliosis, or a friend or just whatever. It'll happen, and your experience is going to end up helping somebody else. There you go. You already know.
Yep. Get the word out.
I mean, it really is a small world, like Min said, we're a parent-driven initiative, and I include you in this parent-driven initiative. While we've made so much progress in the United States, it's time to get to the rest of the world. And, this podcast will be viewed by international surgeons, and I just can't thank you enough. I mean, this is the stuff that they need to see. They need to hear families. They need to talk to this is exactly what we need. I want to put up some footage, and I want to show how healthy and strong she is and how competitive she is and how this did not slow her down at all. She does not remember it. It did not affect her psychologically.
No, she doesn't know what life was like without it. I mean, that's the thing to remember, because as a new mom, I really worried. And then I don't know, at some point it was just like, no, this is normal for her. This is her normal, and it's doing great things. I mean, her curve, we started at 38 degrees, which lucky to have caught it there. And at the last x-ray, they're done x-raying her now. It was roughly 8 degrees. I mean, just a tiny little, and that, from what I understand, is pretty normal for all adults anyway. So
they can detect scoliosis at 7 degrees. So she's straight. You have nothing to worry about.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and it was worth it. It was a lot of work, but it was absolutely worth it for her health and her happiness in the future. I just know that Tyler fought with our insurance because they didn't want to have to pay. And Shriners is lovely. We didn't ever have to pay anyways, but we wanted our insurance to at least contribute. And eventually they did switch it here.
It took me about 4 years or 5 years of constant back and forth with our insurance and bringing information from Shriners for it, and the research article that Charlee was a part of, and getting all of that to them before they would finally pay a contribution of what our insurance would be, as if we were seeing anybody else, because otherwise they were telling us it was an elective procedure and that we were responsible for the total out of pocket.
Let me just say that it's still that any of the doctors that are doing this today, we still don't have a proper CPT reimbursement code developed. They're using old codes still. So literally anybody that's doing it today, they're not making any money. They're taking a big bite out of their practice. They're doing this because they know it's the right thing to do, and they're good people.
Luckily, I know that because of the insurance that we have, it covers a large span of Wyoming and a lot of employers in Wyoming. And at least one of the two that parents that we've talked to that are now at Shriners, they would cover it for them as well, because that we worked so hard through that particular insurance company.
Yeah.
So they're at least covering it for, if they're on that same insurance company's policies, they're covering it for them now when they're going to Shriners.
Oh, you're like policy pioneers.
Well,
maybe more just stubborn than anything.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll fight we'll bring the information to the insurance companies just like we brought it to the doctors, and we'll fight it battle by battle. These stories are what help us do that. So thank you.
So Charlee, has this made your parents more protective of you, or they just know you got anything, so they're less protective? Like, where are they at on the cringe scale?
I feel like it's in between. Like, I know that they're protective of me, but then I also know that they can trust me with certain things.
Yeah, like nobly speaking for yourself there. You're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I need to say one more thing. So Children's Hospital of Colorado doesn't get mad at me. And also to inform you, they're doing it right. I refer patients there all the time. The current chief there is a champion, and it's fine.
Good.
It's good. It's good there. So
Good.
don't hesitate to send people there.
Their care there was great, but I just think there was a feeling in me, the doctor and I just didn't mesh. And when you don't, you got to advocate for yourself. If it doesn't feel right, that's the one thing I would tell any new parent in this. If it doesn't feel right, find another place where it does feel right.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because I say it all the time. You have to go with your gut as a parent, and you've got to make sure that your goal with metacasting is the same as the doctor's. Open this dialogue, have these conversations.
Yep.
It's critical.
Yep. And I mean, the doctor that we saw there, may mesh really well with someone else. So it's just, being a nurse, you just,
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of different types.
since you say that again, and I just congratulations on that. I know who runs the hospitals, and that would be you. So thank you. I respect nurses like you would not believe. One day, let's talk about let's talk about giving a big presentation at the hospital in Wyoming. Let's get people trained there. I'll go out there.
Okay.
I'll get a doctor to go out there. I mean, let's do it. Let's put it on our list.
Okay. Yeah. I would so be for that. That would be awesome.
And if we could get one of Charlie's games on the schedule at that time, I know I'm pushing my luck, but focus on the presentation. But that would be great.
Watch Charlie set.
Oh, Grandma. Well, what? Any final words, Cindy, back there from what you've seen, and you can transfer to the world?
I'm just extremely proud of these 3 people right here. They're, I can't say enough about their heart. And Heather, they wouldn't be here if it weren't for you talking to them. So that's so amazing.
No, thank you. Thank you, Grandma. I couldn't have done anything that I did without my mama. So I know how important you are in all of this. Thank you.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without you. That's for certain.
I know that to be true. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I'm going to put these together and with your photos and other things. And throughout June, which is National Scoliosis Awareness Month, we're going to be pushing this out. And then it's also the 20th year since Min came to America. So this story is super important. This interview is everything I've ever dreamed of as a broadcaster to podcaster. It's just fantastic. So thank you.
I'm so excited, and I am excited to share it a million times.
Excellent.
I appreciate and love you guys so much. Thank you for letting me be on your personal Facebook. I see stuff every day, and it means the world to me. So
me too. Yeah. Yes.
I think one of the things that we thought the most when we were thinking about this, and it was probably one of the most exciting things for me, is just the ability to pay it forward. We wouldn't be here without Heather. And
so if we can help somebody else out, even one more kid, it would be.
You're going to help kids all over the world by this podcast. It's going to be blasted to surgeons in Egypt and all over the place. So
you're famous
everywhere. And honestly, Tyler, isn't that what life's about? Like, it's taken me quite a long time to get it figured out, but that's what it is. It's all the way that you affect and help other people. And I think Charlie probably has that figured out already. So
I hope so.
A step ahead of certainly where I was. Step ahead of us all. I'm so proud of you, honey.
Thank you.